Okay, so I've been needing to do this for a very long time now, so this video is mostly for me and my buddy Togekiss. If you guys end up learning something, then that's pretty cool as well. But overall, I've been running Choice Scarf a lot on the Togekiss, and I really need to figure out which one is better, Modest Nature or Timid Nature, that more speed and less damage, or more damage and less speed, which one is going to work best on the Togekiss. Also, I want to make sure I have these speed tiers down, that way I can understand what I'm going to do best against, and now that there's a couple of more threats introduced in the 7th generation, it could be better to have Togekiss with the Timid Nature on that Choice Scarf, and then we'll just see if the damage numbers end up falling down anyways. So that's pretty much what this video is going to be about. Now you can also have this apply to any of your 80 base speed Pokemon that you want to use for yourself. If not, then all you have to do is change the numbers around, go into a simulator, and then try to find the base speeds that you are outspeeding. Now here's the thing. I thought I understood everything about what my Choice Scarf was going to outspeed on Togekiss, but I ended up encountering a hacked Greninja at PAX that it outsped me and then took Life Orb damage, but that's just absolutely impossible because at level 50, 132 on that speed means that you outspeed a Talonflame. So yeah, an 80 base speed Pokemon with a Choice Scarf and a neutral nature is effectively a 126 base speed Pokemon. So that Greninja kind of like shook all of my confidence. I'm like, wait, I've outsped every Greninja before. Was it poor IVs on their part? Was there something else missing? I don't know what's going on. So now I'm just trying to make sure I have the numbers down. But you get to outspeed Talonflame now. So if you have Stealth Rocks up, you don't have to worry about the Gale Wings, and then you just go and blow up the Talonflame. So good information right here on Togekiss. However, time to go into that Timid Nature. Timid Nature is going to give us a lot of speed and a lot more outspeeds as well, thus letting us keep up with a 145 base speed Pokemon on that Mega Beedrill. Now, a timid Pheromosa will outspeed you, but you get to outspeed neutral speed nature Pheromosas as well. It also applies to Jolly Pheromosa. So depending on what the Pheromosa is running, Togekiss does have a decent chance to respond to it as well. And then if we just outspeed the Beedrill, it's going to be absolutely destroyed. Now, there's all kinds of new Pokemon that are kind of spicing it up for the timid Togekiss. That Ash Greninja. Ash Greninja gains more base speed. So if it's already an Ash Greninja form and then Togekiss comes in to respond to it, you will need that timid nature, or else you're going to eat some pretty dangerous attacks, and you don't want Togekiss doing that. That Ice Beam into Water Shuriken could prove to be fatal, and that would be very bad. Also, we have Pokemon like Tapu Koko. Even though you don't want the electric matchup, if you just need that quick outspeed to finish off a low Tapu Koko, or hope that you have some flinching happen off of that Air Slash, that could actually mean a lot as well. And then Beedrill, it wasn't a threat, but now that Mega Pokemon gain their speed on the turn they Mega Evolve, it might be very useful to have Togekiss be as fast as possible for those Pokemon like Mega Manectric, Mega Lopunny, Mega Beedrill, anything that gains more than the base speed that is outsped by the modest Togekiss. So there's less shutdown potential, and it just kind of starts pointing in the direction of Timid. Also, Togekiss gets Z Yawn, which actually boosts the speed of Togekiss now, thus giving it an effective Choice Scarf. So Togekiss has more speed boosting options now in the 7th generation, and more reason to understand which one would be better. So here's kind of like the speed range where it starts to matter and then doesn't really matter. So we have Greninja here. We're going to have both outspeeds for Noivern, Greninja, Ribombee, Darkrai, Weavile, Swallow, all the way up until about the Meloetta, and then definitely at the Mewtwo, Gengar, Tapu Koko. Also, Mega Gengar, Crobat. These Pokemon already gave the modest Togekiss a little bit of a problem, so they might be worth covering as well. Now, the Timid Choice Scarf Togekiss only gives you one more base point of speed than a 145 base speed Pokemon, so that means if you are a Scarf Kiss, you can only be outsped by Mega Alakazam, Mega Aerodactyl, Deoxys forms, Electrode, Pheromosa, Ninjask, and then more Deoxys forms, unless they're also a Scarf Pokemon, in which case, it's just going to be effectively the same stats. That if they have a Pokemon higher than 80 base speed, then they have a chance of outspeeding you if they are already not running a non-speed beneficial nature. So the numbers start getting pretty crazy from there, but that's kind of the baseline. So showing that nowadays Togekiss is getting a higher spread of Pokemon and a lot more safety because you're basically playing for that flinch. Now, does it matter? That what if you're a Togekiss, you're running that Timid Nature, but instead of finding a 2-hit KO, there's a 3-hit KO. That means you need 2 flinches instead of the 1 flinch to secure the KO. That's going to be more difficult odds. Now, the crazy thing about Togekiss, it has a lot of natural bulk, so it can survive at least 1 hit, and even a super effective hit from quite a lot of Pokemon. So if it finds that survival, then that means even the modest Scarf Kiss will be able to respond to some of these threats under certain situations. So now it's time for some damage calculations, and this is just where I have to side on Team Timid for the Togekiss, so it's actually a pretty hard thing to give up the modest. I've been running modest Choice Scarf Togekiss pretty much exclusively since the 4th generation, and that's because it was a different time back then. Back in the 5th generation, there wasn't Mega Gengar, Crobat wasn't really played as much, so really the only threat was like Jolteon, but now there's all kinds of Megas, there's more of a speed creep to worry about, so yeah, the Timid does make a bit more of a sense. And also, I feel like metagame and just game development progression has kind of altered the way that the Modest plays. That Modest just feels like it was getting more KOs than the Timid nature for various reasons. Back in the day, people didn't care about 5-6 IV Pokemon as much, so not having perfect IVs and special defense on the Garchomp wasn't the biggest deal, and I would find 2-hit KOs on the Modest from time to time that I really just wouldn't find on the Timid nature. Now, here's the thing, because of the way that natures work in general, it's only 10% more damage, so there's a very small range where it will work, and on the Garchomp, it just shows that it doesn't. Modest nature, 3-hit KO. That's kind of it on the Air Slash right there. And another crazy thing is, say we're running a Jolly, or we're going up against a Jolly Garchomp, this kind of also shows Togekiss's durability right here, that the Poison Jab does not one-hit KO, even with a Life Orb Jolly Garchomp. So we do have that non-stab super effective durability, but we just need 1 flinch and the Garchomp will be KO'd. But the Timid nature, no issue. 38, so it's still a guaranteed 3-hit KO. So we have 3-hit KO on the Modest, 3-hit KO on the Timid nature, which means now we just have the benefit of being faster on that Timid nature. But what about other Pokemon? Well, it really doesn't matter because the average sweeping Pokemon is going to be about as tanky as a Weavile. Now, there are some cases, but overall you have a 95% chance to 2-hit KO the Weavile on the Air Slash, and then you still 2-hit KO with the Modest nature as well. So, unless you're going up against really weird tanky setups to where over the longer course of the game, maybe you'll get a 4-hit KO on the Timid and a 3-hit KO on the Modest, or like really weird super effective hits against bulky-ish Pokemon, then yeah, the Modest nature could have a higher benefit right there, but it seems like just getting the outspeed, and since you're relying on flinch anyway, going for that flinch is the better option. So really, it's just a small range between Garchomp and other sweeping Pokemon that carry your Scarfed. Now, there are some Pokemon out there that will be 2-hit KO'd by the Air Slash on a Modest and 3-hit KO'd on the Timid, but it really just shows that those are odd scenarios, and that Pokemon most likely doesn't crazily threaten you unless it's already a super effective hit, in which case you're gambling on that Air Slash flinch anyways. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast when playing Togekiss. I was even looking at some other matchups, like Timid nature doesn't even falter that hard against Tapu Lele. So Modest, Psychic Surge Tapu Lele, we survive. So we get to survive a Psychic, which means on our 3-hit KO, yeah, we can be pretty solid right there. So Air Slash has a guaranteed 3-hit KO with the Modest nature, so 1 flinch and we take out the Tapu Lele, much like the Garchomp. But even on Timid nature, high chance to 3-hit KO on that Air Slash. That's a 75% chance to 3-hit KO, so there will be those times where if you get low damage rolls, Tapu Lele can survive in that 4-hit KO range, but just kind of showing that that's kind of it. It's weird tanky matchups, or just it doesn't really matter, and I feel that I've been seeing a lot more of those sweeping threats, that those speed threats start really bothering me. I'm like, oh, the Gengar matchup used to be kind of worth it. If it wasn't Mega Gengar, then yeah, you're going to outspeed it with Modest anyways. But now if it is Mega Gengar, it Megas, outspeeds you, trashes you, and you really don't get to stand a chance after that, because that's a very powerful Sludge Bomb headed your way. So it's just those little intricacies, and with the Timid nature, you just don't have to deal with that. Like, what happens if it's another 80 base speed Pokemon that's running a Choice Scarf? Well, you know you're at least going to speed tie with it as long as you're running the speedy nature, and you don't want to be the Modest Togekiss going up against the Timid Togekiss because you're just going to straight up lose that matchup. So I think that's where it just kind of shows, yeah, Timid nature, the damage numbers, while they can matter, are most likely not going to, and then the benefit of just outspeeding all those new Pokemon is much higher in my opinion. It's just kind of showing, and then also, might as well talk about Choice Scarf versus Normalium Z. it's effectively the same idea. I feel that Air Slash, Ancient Power, Aura Sphere is going to be the way to run. So you're kind of trading Yawn for the trick, and then you're taking advantage of not being choice to have some extra freedom. Like, oh, if they're weak against the Ancient Power, you might want to throw that their way, or if they're at a very low range, like, you know, it's a very close 3 KO, 2 Air Slashes, and then they're not dead, but then you can finish them off on an Ancient Power. 20% chance to boost all of your stats could just make the game end right there, and as we've seen from Slothy Pig, his Z Yawn Togekiss is pretty ridiculous, so it is a very viable option, and it follows all the rules of the Scarf Kiss, except you get more freedom. So there we go, guys. A little bit of breakdown with Togekiss, also talking about speed ties and Pokemon optimization. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.